First, we have some breaking news. There was a pursuit underway. Let's get right to the breaking news desk. Mark?
Yeah, that's right. Amy, Chris, we're looking at a pursuit right now. This is happening right in the Hollywood Hills. Right there, you see that silver Toyota pickup being chased by LAPD officers from the Hollywood division. Slow speeds right now. Now, the want, they say, on this pickup truck driver is hit and run. I just heard it on the scanners, the air commander discussing this with the units on the ground. Possibly involved with a hit and run near Laurel Canyon and Mount Olympus. So that's not too terribly far from where we are right now. We're in the Hollywood Hills, right by, say, Mulholland and Laurel Canyon. That's right in this area. There is an LAPD air unit overhead and multiple units from the LAPD that are on the ground behind it. Now, we did also hear that they were attempting to use spike strips. You can see, and we don't know if those spike strips have been used yet, but you can see at least 4 LAPD patrol units behind this silver Toyota. They have read the license plate off the back. They have not called it reported stolen, but the want on this, again, this driver not stopping after possibly being involved allegedly in a hit and run near Laurel Canyon and Mount Olympus. You can see the speeds are slowing down here. Now, it's unclear if the spike strips that we heard them talking about a little bit earlier were actually used, and perhaps we're seeing these tires deflating. I apologize for the signal here with SkyCal. We're attempting to tune into a different mountaintop because we are heading into the Hollywood Hills here. We're going to try and get that signal cleaned up. Unclear right now how many people are in the truck. We know at least the driver is in there. The windows are tinted, and it's difficult to see anything else in there. We have not heard LAPD discuss whether or not there are any other people in there. We also don't know the gender or age of the driver at this time, but you can see, Chris and Amy, fairly slow speeds as we head here in the Hollywood Hills. Again, I believe this might be on Mulholland, heading westbound. They might head up right about now to about Summit Circle if this is where I believe it is on the radar.
Yeah, and this is certainly an area that has some really windy, curvy roads. You can see the traffic in the opposite direction actually stopping because they can't pull over. This is an area that doesn't have large shoulders, so they're just stopping on the road. This is certainly, making for a dangerous situation, even though this driver is now picking up speed just a little bit.
Yeah, and this is a possible hit-and-run suspect, and you're absolutely right, Amy. This is a very busy area, especially during rush hour. Right now, not so bad. Sometimes there are some turnouts to get views and take pictures of the views, but often not the case all the time. But it is interesting, Mark. So a hit-and-run suspect, you got 3 or 4 black and whites chasing this person. Do we know anything about if there's other people inside the vehicle?
That's a question right now. I mean, the windows are fairly tinted on this pickup, so LAPD has not really discussed any number of people that are being there. I mean, this is an extended cab. You could have some people possibly in the jump seat in the back. I don't think it's a 4-door. It looks like it's a 2-door. So there could be as many as 3 people, possibly 4 people squeezed in there, but unlikely. But you can see the slow speeds here. And again, we haven't heard examples of reckless driving involving this driver, except, of course, for the suspected hit and run that this driver allegedly engaged in a little bit earlier. That's what sparked this entire pursuit. I do have another bit of information. When LAPD first pulled this driver over, this driver apparently did stop. And I can tell you that I actually heard yelling on the police radios. It sounded like someone at this stop was yelling. Don't think that it was a police officer. It sounded like perhaps the driver was yelling something, and then moments later, the pursuit was on. They said this driver had taken off from that traffic stop. And so we are now here at this pursuit here in the Hollywood Hills. I believe we are still heading westbound on Mulholland. The next major we're going to come up on here is Coldwater Canyon. But the speeds have just been continuously slowing as this driver moves slower and slower here as cars are just passing right by. You guys had mentioned this is a very narrow street. There are not a lot of opportunities to stop or make turns, and there's very little shoulder on that side. So even if this driver did pull over, it's pretty narrow right there on the edge of that cliff.
Yeah, and we're seeing so many cruisers behind this car. I mean, we see the first 4 up close, and then there are several that appear to be behind these 4 that you can still see. But, so often when we have these pursuits, Mark, the car has dark tinted windows. We can't see how many people are in there. And it's really interesting to know if this driver is driving this slow on purpose, or if there's an issue with the truck that they can't go any faster. but certainly doesn't make it any easier for officers because they can't do a pit maneuver on this road. And if a vehicle's going this slow, they can't do a pit maneuver. They could, in fact, maybe use the spike strips, but...
And it makes you wonder, it looks like there is some front end damage. Again, a hit and run suspect, but with the fact that the vehicle is going this slow, it could give, authorities, LAPD, time
Does it look like there's somebody
go
in the passenger seat from this shot?
It's kind of hard to see with the glare on the
window.
window.
Almost looked like there was some movement almost,
It's possible there might be someone in the passenger seat. My colleagues at the assignment desk in the newsroom are giving me some new information from LAPD. They say the actual collision that this hit and run is the subject of was at Hollywood and Highland, and remarkably, LAPD was calling it a misdemeanor hit and run, no injuries. So really, this was not a very serious crime to begin with in terms of this hit and run. Nobody injured. There was apparently not major damage, certainly not to this pickup truck. We don't see any on the body of this pickup truck, but apparently to the other vehicle as well. And it was over at Laurel Canyon in Olympus that LAPD apparently tried to stop this vehicle, and that's when this pursuit started. So really remarkable that this is again a misdemeanor hit and run. That's what LAPD is calling it. So not a felony in that regard. A real mistake by this driver to try. And now the felonies are racking up, certainly because of this pursuit. This is felony evading.
Oh, there you go. You can see police right
more.
there. They're ready to go and potentially block them up or blocking up traffic from going in that eastbound direction. But...
All right, so this is a classic example of using spike strips in an area where LAPD can control the traffic. They certainly don't want civilian vehicles to hit that spike strip. But here, since there are so few opportunities to make turns, this is a great place to put those spike strips. And now that driver is going to have to make that decision whether to keep going or stop, hit those spike strips right there. That officer.
Yep, there it is. But he's going so slow over him.
That looks like a good hit to me.
Yep.
For sure. Now, those spike strips, ideally, there's a speed that LAPD wants these spike strips to be used at very slow speeds. They may not operate as well as very high speeds, but that looked like a pretty good hit to me, at least on several of those tires.
Yeah, the front too, it looked like, and even in the back because he rolled over it, and it looked like at least one of the rear tires actually went over it as well. So it does, in fact, take time, though, for those strips to actually cause all of the air to go out of those tires. It takes a little bit of time, but slowly and surely they will be deflated.
And how many pursuits have we seen, Amy and Mark, where they, hit these spike strips and then they keep on going for miles and miles and then they just don't stop? So hopefully this isn't the case and this person pulls over. But if they stay on Mulholland like this, this is a best case scenario. It's a Friday afternoon or Friday morning. A lot of people, have the day off or working from home or going on their lunch break. So you definitely want to be careful of that. But watching this pursuit go on, this is definitely one of the slower ones that we've seen.
Which, of course, is better than someone flying through these narrow, windy roads. So that's a good thing. But once they reach the end of this roadway, we definitely know there's another spike strip right there.
Yeah, we are seeing the great work for the crew in SkyCow with that amazing camera we have. Very clearly, we're seeing the driver's side front tire is fully deflated, and we also see some of that damage. Did you both notice the damage to the front of that car? That's clearly a dent there in the front of this truck, and so that could be as a result of that hit and run that happened a little earlier. But second spike strip now on these tires here, and we're seeing little bits of that tire tread now coming off. So these tires are going to start shredding here, and this driver's not going to have a lot of options when he has his tires completely deflated.
Exactly. That is a larger truck, heavy weight, and so it will certainly wear out those tires quicker than, say, maybe a smaller car, and they will be on those rims before long, and trying to maneuver a windy road on rims could be very difficult.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder. It looks like this person's pulling to the right. Obviously, their tires are deflating. They're on the axle, the rim right there, so the car's pulling, the truck's pulling to the right. But, we're talking about this person, a suspect, a hit and run suspect. Okay, they're stopping right now. That's some pretty bad damage to the front end of that truck, because you think about it, it must have hit something pretty hard to see that.
Exactly, but now we have some traffic there. Those cars are stopped as this truck is trying to get by, which, is a good thing that the other drivers are sitting there and not trying to get around this area, which, could certainly pose a danger for everyone involved. But we're just watching as this driver just continues to move along slowly still,
it's
it is much more difficult with those tires flattened.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now I think we are seeing both front tires deflated here. And Chris, you had mentioned before, we have seen pursuits with tires that have been deflated, and you mentioned they keep going and going. Well, this is certainly a truck that has a tremendous amount of horsepower behind it. Full-size Toyota Tacoma. These are vehicles that are designed for a lot of heavy-duty work, so there's a lot of horsepower. And the transmission, while it is under an incredible amount of stress when it has the front tires deflated, it is going to keep putting out that horsepower. And it didn't look like the rear tires were deflated, so there's still going to be probably a lot of force behind this vehicle. Certainly the control that this driver has over this full-size pickup truck is vastly degraded, which is, of course, an issue on a road where it's very tight turns sometimes, these turns, and very narrow corridors with cars on the other side. So certainly LAPD is concerned about how this driver is going to be able to keep controlling this truck, although if he remains at these lower speeds, it's not too much of a problem.
Yeah, the front hood is shaking, and it looks like it's trying to open up, but the truck keeps veering to the right, and it keeps going along. And, you know, for all these people who are driving on the road, probably wondering what the heck is going on. But if you do see this, obviously stay inside, because you never know, you know, if this person's dangerous, if they have a gun, or, you know, what harm they could do. But, I mean, what, they're probably going 3-5 miles an hour?
Yeah,
this is pretty slow speeds right now, and it's unclear if that's because the driver is just not confident in the control that they have here, or if there's something else going on. I want to also mention we don't have any information about this driver being armed either. And so we are also hearing LAPD officers are discussing, the lead officer is discussing with the commander of this whether or not they're going to do a pit maneuver. And that may be what we're seeing right here.
That's it. But when it's so slow, it's hard to make that happen when the vehicle's
pit
going
maneuvers
so slow.
Ideally are supposed to be performed around, I believe, 25 to 35 miles an hour. This is pretty slow.
Okay, there we go. They got it. Oh, no.
Okay.
Just when you think.
Yeah, it really needs to be going faster than this to do a successful pit maneuver, but they've definitely caused more damage to this truck, which is making it harder for this driver to continue on, but they are refusing to stop. Look at those tires just wobbling.
Reminds me of that game Twisted Metal from back in the day, where the vehicles just keep going after getting all banged up.
That's exactly right. I love that video game reference, Chris. I got that one. But let me tell you, the fact that there has been a pit maneuver that was successful enough to make contact and turn this vehicle, and the driver is continuing to drive, did not surrender. This is going to change some of the psychology involved that LAPD officers are going to use to engage this driver. Clearly, this driver has shown the propensity to continue this pursuit, even in the face of a dangerous situation like a pit maneuver. Now, most drivers, you would expect, if they feel that collision or they get turned around by an LAPD officer, many of those suspects surrender at that moment. But clearly, this driver has the wherewithal to keep going, and you can see
coming off.
We are going to lose all of the tread here, and this is where it may come to an end. There's really no place for this driver to go.
In the Hollywood Hills of all places, I mean, they are not stopping here. All right, let's see what happens, because the biggest question is who's inside this vehicle, and did they hurt anybody in this hit and run?
We
don't know.
We don't believe that there was any injuries in the hit and run. Again, LAPD called it a misdemeanor hit and run, which is so unfortunate because that usually would probably not be an arrestable offense. I would have to check on that. But because now this has turned into a pursuit, this is multiple felonies that this driver is now going to face and possibly extended jail time. And you can see this driver still trying to get away. Now, he has a hedge in front, he or she, I should say, has a hedge right in front of them, but it looks like they now have been boxed in completely. Now, there is a very dangerous choice that this driver has to make. Any attempt to reverse into these officers will automatically be considered assault on a police officer, which ratchets up this felony count immensely and also increases the danger for everyone involved. So LAPD is going to be watching that to make sure that this driver does not reverse, because that would be considered assault with deadly weapon, the deadly weapon being, of course, the truck.
Yes, and we're all waiting. At one time, Mark, when this driver first went over the curb, we saw a lot of those officers running up towards the side and then quickly began to back up behind that vehicle. But it does not look like this driver is ready to get out yet. We have not seen any movement from inside that cab.
Oh, look,
that's not good.
Trying to go.
Yeah, that is not good. This kind of a thing is what really ratchets up the danger here. Thankfully, it doesn't look like there's any real damage being done. There's not a forceful collision, but certainly that truck with a lot of horsepower is pushing back against that LAPD patrol SUV. They're both very heavy vehicles, but any continued use of this is very, very dangerous for everybody involved here.
Oh, yeah, and you can see them all with their guns drawn and ready to go. And well, I guess we'll have to wait and see if this person wants to go.
But look at the tires there.
You can see a four-wheel drive truck. Was that
it looked like they had a less than lethal with a green on that rifle.
Good eye.
If it's green, that's a less than lethal beanbag round or perhaps pepper ball round. But it's probably
went into
a
the
beanbag
passenger
round.
window there.
So they could see what's going on.
Yeah, it was difficult. Well, no, the driver's still pushing down on that gas pedal there. So it's unclear if that beanbag round had any effect whatsoever. Now the air unit, you can see those are the blades of the LAPD air unit that's keeping an eye on this, the air commander up there. But boy, this is just so dangerous. And we're going to start seeing some smoke coming out of those back tires as the treads are starting to heat up. There is no motion, though, coming out. It's a second beanbag round now.
Yep.
And it's just one of those kind of situations where if this person is still trying to get out of this current situation, they can't be in the right mindset. I mean, are they on drugs? Are they on alcohol?
A desperate attempt.
You're not moving. Yeah.
A desperate attempt. And that's the problem with these pursuits. The people that are behind the wheel are desperate to get away, and they will do whatever it takes oftentimes to try to get away.
Yeah, years and years ago, we did a story here where we actually tracked down about 3 different drivers that had been involved in pursuits, incarcerated, and then released. And we talked to them. I remember the stories when I was new here at KCAL. That we asked them, why did you run? What made you think that running was a good idea? And universally, all 3 of them said, I just thought that I could get away. The road was in front of me, and I felt that I could escape if I just ran a little bit longer. So that was going through at least the 3 drivers that we interviewed more than a decade and a half ago for that story. But in this particular case, there is nothing in front of this driver that could possibly indicate to them that they would be able to get away. There's a hedge in the front, multiple LAPD units behind, and a disabled truck. So the psychology here is just to let this driver somehow come to the conclusion that they need to surrender. And certainly that beanbag round shows that the LAPD means business. They are certainly willing to use force to make sure that no one else is injured, no officers or civilians are injured here, and they don't want the driver injured either. The best case scenario is that that driver ends up in handcuffs, uninjured, and on their way to jail. But again, we're still seeing that rear tire try to reverse.
This person is still giving it the gas, trying to, at this point, you just wonder if they're just kind of toying with the officers because they know that they're not going anywhere, or if they are, like you mentioned, Chris, not in the right state of mind and just doing whatever it takes.
I mean, it has to
make
be
that
something,
attempt.
but obviously it's a waiting game right now. But we all know LA pursuits. We've covered so many of them. You don't usually see pursuits in the Hollywood Hills on a Friday morning at 10 o'clock like this.
On a road like this. This is a tough road, and so often there's a lot of traffic on these roads, and you're not going to get far. And we see this, is exactly that case. This driver didn't get too far and continues. I mean, look at that rear tire.
And a lot of people will bypass, other roads, and they'll go on Mulholland and go the side route just to get around. So if you're going to be driving in this area, you want to make sure that you know that this is going on, because that traffic is backing up, especially as we approach lunch hour.
Yeah, and I can also tell you,
the tire was going forward, and now it's going backwards again. It looked like there for a moment the tire was actually going forward.
Yeah, there are 2 bits of information here I want to tell you. Chris, you had mentioned this is Coldwater Canyon, and it is now closed in both directions, right around a small street. I believe it's called Potosi Avenue. So I'm looking at the largest major here would possibly, let's see, Halkirk. Yeah, it's closed. This is on the north side of the Hollywood Hills, so closer to Studio City. It's not over the crest yet, but Coldwater closed and likely will be for several hours, no matter how this shapes up here. And LAPD officers are discussing with the commanders in the air and back at headquarters regarding those wheels spinning. They say they are going in both directions, Amy. Great eye on that. He's reversing and going forward, but no real progress. But this is certainly making officers on the ground very nervous.
You have that sniper eye, Amy. I'm like, I need my glasses.
I think it's covering a lot of pursuits over the years and just really trying to pay attention to all the different things that are happening there. And I can't help but think about the people that live in those homes right in front of this.
Oh, they're trying to turn around.
And we're seeing people are turning around, trying to get away from this area because they're going to be stopped there for a while. We all know these officers will spend some time waiting these people out. And are you hearing something about the people that live there?
It's almost as if you read my mind, or you're actually hearing the scanner traffic on your own, because LAPD is literally discussing that very thing right now. This is now involving more divisions of the LAPD. While the officers here at the scene are from Hollywood Division, their colleagues at North Hollywood Division have now been called to assist because of that exact problem that you were mentioning, Amy. There are now drivers going the wrong way on Coldwater Canyon trying to get out of this mess. And there's an urgent need for traffic officers to A, get these civilians to safety, and B, make sure this does not just become a traffic nightmare through this entire Hollywood Hills area, which it probably already is considering what we're seeing here. But they need to get these cars out of here and safely back up up and down Coldwater Canyon at this point, as this looks like it's going to be an extended standoff now with this driver.